Lisa, it was Steve's idea to go ahead and put these things on the test engine and see what we've actually got to let you know why everybody, where we are starting from, and why everybody had issues and had problems. And we're going to show you what you've got, what you're supposed to have, and also see what it looks like to try to run when you got one of these plugs missing out of a passageway. We will start it, and in order to adjust it, it has to get up to idle temperature, which takes a few minutes. And I'm assuming we can get up to idle. It may run so poorly it can't, but let's see.
Yeah, what we'll probably end up doing is starting it, seeing how it starts. Maybe shut the video off, let it run for 10 minutes or so to get up to operating temperature, and then start back up again and resume at operating temperature. Depending on what
Well, I'll just let it run. But I want to mention before we do anything. Remember, the second barrel idle mixture screws were open.
Right.
And we put them in the closed position where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, these are closed.
So that's
one. Let's baseline these at a turn and a half just to start with.
So what we're doing is putting things. This is not where the carburetors came to us, but we know for a fact they wouldn't run like that. And so this idle mixture screw is closed, and whereas when they came to us, they were open a whole bunch, at least like 2 turns it looked like.
Yeah.
So this is closed, and this Steve baselined these, closed them off, and then backed them off 1.5 turns.
We haven't adjusted any of these, so we should all work on whatever it was set at before. So I guess we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, why don't you start it, and I'll go get a can of B12 we can use for diagnostic wafers.
Okay. So what I'm doing, I've got the first barrel choke tied to the second barrel because this is the main choke spring, and this is what I call a slave. So switch on, see what we got. I was going to suggest that we don't even have an idle. Will it idle? I think the G55s are clogged. See, we got no idle.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's because we don't know what these mixture screws are set at. So before we try changing...
I was going to just check G55s for being plugged is all I was thinking about doing. The idle jets.
Yeah, well, we can pull it out real quick, but I don't think that it's going to be...
Oh, sorry about that foot. Got excited there. I'm suggesting we don't have idle because G55s are plugged, the idle jets. And what I'm going to do is, you got a very tiny orifice down there, and I'm going to blow in here and see if it's clogged. No, it is not. It kind of burns the old lips there, doesn't it?
This one's definitely passing fuel too.
All right, so don't have idle, but for some other reason besides. So
Well,
Steve's going with the idle mixture screws are not adjusted correctly.
yeah,
I bet he's right.
since we tweaked them, and then plus it was processing fuel through the second barrel. So,
Right. So I bet
let's
he's.
see what happens with that. Of course, what we need to do also is we need to plug this hole because that hole is affecting us
Well, I
tremendously.
can stand there with my finger on the dike while you adjust things.
Okay,
I'll
let's.
trade places.
All right, let's see what happens. We still on? We're still on. Let's do it more to start with. Oh, I didn't like that.
I bet that's why I have the second barrel idle mixture screws open. Couldn't see them running. Crack open the second barrel idle mixture screws just for fun. See
Just
what
for
happens.
entertainment?
Just for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
Since we probably are bypassing so much air back there, the it's running lean because it thinks it.
These things are just behaving very. Just bring the idle up faster than normal. Because it's just.
Yeah, at least get it off the circuit.
Yeah, it's just not working right. Let's go back to some sort of ground zero here.
Right. Well, if you can maintain some RPM, just grins put the
The manometer on it and see
Right.
what kind of airflows we're getting.
synchrometer on the second barrel at least to show how that one's.
Right.
You know, a person gets tired putting their finger there. Did you ever that little
I-
kid with the dike? He would get really tired.
And you would. That's why you let the place flood.
What are they running on the second barrel?
Oh, like 4.5, 5.
What Steve was checking with the manometer, the synchrometer, is the airflow through the second barrel. The factory settings are usually around 2, and when our machinist gets done with these, we got settings down between 0 and 1, and these carburetors were running at 4, which is just a little bit less than what should be processed through the first barrel under normal idle conditions. So, in other words, the second barrel is processing way too much air.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me get it running again here, and
Okay.
let's get my finger over the hole.
Okay. Want me to keep starting?
Yeah, you get it running.
Tell me you're ready.
Ready.
He's checking for leaks. As he sprays that combustible fluid and gets sucked into the carburetors, you can hear the RPM change. It's fluid filters in there in the second barrel. Hear the difference? It's not supposed to accelerate through here.
They're all four leaking,
Yeah.
and this is the
That's spraying fluid into the unplugged hole.
leak.
The little unplugged hole. Nope, no, it's still one idle, which is interesting, no matter
Yeah,
what.
we can't get it to idle. It's not happy.
Do you have any ideas other than just give up and we've demonstrated
Yeah,
how
it's
things
just,
don't work?
Yeah, it's leaking through all the throttle shafts. It's leaking through the missing plug into the idle circuit.
Leaking through the butterflies in the second barrel.
Yeah, the second barrels are processing way too much air. I think we just gotta commit to taking them apart and getting them working right.
But we wanted to demonstrate to you and to anyone else that is interested, that's how you diagnose the carburetors. And
Yeah, try to figure out where to start and what to do.
right, we baseline them with the idle mixture screws, and we know the idle screw here was baseline. That was not an issue. And then after that, a matter of getting them warmed up, because you can't do anything until they're warmed up.
Right.
And then
When we were, regardless of checking the shafts for leakage, an easy way to tell whether the mixture is even remotely correct or not is if you give it a little bit of fuel. We're using the carburetor cleaner into the Venturi. If the engine is running lean, then it'll pick up RPM as like it did when we were doing that. If the engine is running correctly, then if you give it additional fuel, it'll actually try to make the engine quit. So the fact that anytime we added fuel, the engine performed better means that the carburetors aren't processing fuel the way they're supposed to. They're not getting enough fuel from the carburetor into the engine, which is also why it won't idle, because it's not processing. So we've either got clogged passages inside the carburetor, or we have so many leaks around the throttle butterflies that it's not pulling the fuel into the carburetor, into the engine the way it should, because it doesn't have a strong enough vacuum signal at idle. And there's just multiple issues.
And this further, just to make sure it's totally confusing. From about this point forward is where all the internal metering of the fuel takes place, right? We've got our pre-atomizer, and then we've got our Venturi right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point back here is where the throttle shafts are and where they are leaking. So the fuel is metered, let's say the fuel is metered correctly here and enters in to this point. All of a sudden it meets incoming unmetered fresh air that's mixing with it, which leans it out and screws up the
Right.
Yeah.
So even if you adjust this, trying to get more fuel in, it still can't meet the demands of the extra air coming in through the various leaks, and therefore still runs lean.
And let's see, also the engine that we're using is dedicated strictly to testing carburetors. So we have a known quantity, excuse me, with our engine. We just about covered everything in the, let's see. Another thing that could be the problem is their fuel filter assembly and the cork inside there could be pulling air. That needs to be checked on the car.
Yeah, but that still doesn't fix the carburetor
Nope,
problems.
nope.
We need to keep this isolated carburetors,
Right.
I think, as opposed to other stuff.
Yeah, and then we'll give them handy hints further on down this. All right. Hopefully, if you have any questions, just let us know.